But I have a question from Henry here. He says, do you think the northern governors, LG chairmen, and Islamic organizations are doing enough to assist in this fight?
The northern governors first. Most of these governors we have, are they really of the people? Are they really working on the mandates of the people?
They were elected by the people.
If you say so, fine.
You don't think so?
Are they in touch with the people now? Do the people feel the consequence of being elected is that when you are elected, your actions is felt by the people who elected you. There is nowhere in the northern states or even within the country. Even here in Lagos State, if it's either you are at the economic level where the standards that is being driven for a mega city or a new Lagos or whatever, if you have the financial capacity to be accommodated in Lagos State, then you feel the impact of governance. But otherwise, you feel they are oppressing you. The ordinary man who struggles for his daily bread with sweat feels he's been oppressed by the new governance style. So what are we talking about the governors or the Islamic clerics? If you open the doors for these religious bodies to have a say, as much as you think this matter is of religious connotations, for me, I don't believe it is religious connotation, because there is nowhere in the scriptures that gave you that freedom to do what Boko Haram is doing.
So they're trying to pitch.
Now, yeah, they're just hiding behind the cloak of religion, because they know as soon as they say it is a religious matter, you can go on arguing on these issues till they can
would it be comfortable to say this is about some old fight, especially in the quest spreading Islam then between the Sokoto Caliphate and the Borno Empire then, because they pride, because now you talked about Shekau and where he's from, you recall that till date they pride themselves as the empire that was never conquered during the spread of Islam in that part of the country, and now we're getting to see that this majority of those people who are espousing the philosophy of hate and brutal killing of Boko Haram are from that area.
Well, you see, it's a school of thought, of course, but I don't think that has anything to do with the problems we have, because both sides have grown and graduated in their parallel lines. Because on the religious mode, you have the Sultan of Sokoto, who is always occupying the president of the Islamic Council, while the Sheikh of Borno always occupies the deputy president. So it's been taken care of on that level. Each respects the other for whatever values they have. But what we are talking about is the religion. You see, from the south today, any northerner, and if you happen to be a Muslim, the mindset always takes that person into the ruins of the Boko Haram thing. Your mentalities has to be equated with Boko Haram.
But you wouldn't blame anyone, because if I have a child in that school and I'm from the south or another part of the country, and I woke up someday to realize that he or she has been slaughtered by someone who claims to be a Muslim, then every other Muslim I see is a representation or a representative of a murderer. So it becomes difficult in the minds of that northern Muslim especially to understand, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where I now bring in the issue of being learned, because it's one thing to have a PhD and it's another thing to actually have a PhD in whatever field. We have the two religions. Still in this country you have Muslims who cannot touch the Bible for whatever reason. And you have the Christians who cannot touch the Quran. And that in itself is a problem. because you don't open that book to find out what is in there. The knowledge in there, knowledge in any form, is useful to mankind. And you refuse, you have already sanctioned yourself from a particular department of knowledge. And problems you cannot run away from is surrounding you. I'm a Muslim, you are a Christian, we meet in the bus, we meet in the office, we meet in the restaurant, in the plane, and yet our mind has divorced us from ourselves. If we happen to be military personnel in the field, now how do we now manage a beautiful result?
So that affects the performance.
When our mindset is already being damaged. So now, the Bible contains the same thing in the Quran. There is only a portion of the Quran that did not appear in the Bible, and that is because after the Prophet Isa has already ascended, 450 years after Prophet Muhammad appeared, and that portion could not in its entirety appear in the Bible. If you had spent your time reading the Quran and the other one spends his time reading the Bible, you don't need anybody to tell you what problems we have about religion. You will let everybody be with his own.
But this issue, the security challenge now, a lot have said it's not religious.
It is not religious as far as I'm concerned.
What is it?
The government must be able to put its finger on it, because you remember my president said my governance is filled with Boko Haram. Since that time we have not heard him point a finger. Why? What stops him? If he can't, who else?
You know, but the president has constantly said everything possible will be done to stop the insurgents. He has declared a state of emergency. He has released the military. He has commanded the military to go. And as you said today, and as we heard yesterday, the Senator has commanded the Chief of Army Staff to relocate to Borno. I mean, everything appears to be in motion to end this. Yet,
I want to hear him mention a couple of names in his own constituency. He has already indicted himself by saying, I have Boko Haram in my own constituency. The nation stood still waiting to hear the next day names rolling out. Now who else is now good? If you talk, you never know whether you get home to stay the night.
Is that why some people are not talking when they should?
Of course, definitely, because just the way, if you remember, Boko Haram just hits where they want to hit at will. And so is your own number. But how do you do it? Get some people that you think are there. You must have security reports. Nigerian intelligence is there. They have done the job. They have provided the information on the table. Nobody is going to tell me the military intelligence and the SSS and the police are just sitting there. Our own military intelligences are as good as any international military intelligence. They do the jobs. If they can go outside the border and do the job perfectly and exceedingly well, they must be able to be doing it here too. But what happens to the information when it gets to that table?
That's a big question. Ahmed Sulaiman is the National Secretary General of the Arewa Youth Consultative Forum. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much, Jambal.